Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's very special anniversary lunch and learn to celebrate 2 years of 5 Hour Club. Now, you may have seen over the last few weeks the faces of the 5 Hour Workday, those parents who are living and breathing it. And this past week, we've been showcasing the leaders who are making it happen. Now, those employees have given the parents the opportunity to work between school hours. And we've got one of our exceptional employers here today, Chloe Fallon, who is the founder of Lodestar Accounting, which she built back in 2016 to create the firm she wanted to work for, fully remote space and flexible from day one so she could work around her family. Now, fast forward to now, and Loans has grown to a team of 15 spanning the UK and beyond, working with purpose-led businesses who want to make a difference, guided by accountants who feel exactly the same way. When she's not working in Zero, you'll find Chloe on the golf course or at the theatre or walking her two very energetic dogs. So welcome, Chloe.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I can't wait to hear how you've been able to build your business between school hours, because it sounds like the ideal culture and workplace that parents want to work at. And I know for employers, it's often something that they're not sure whether it can be done. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about your story and how it's possible. So if anybody does have any questions for Chloe, in the meantime, please share them in the comments and we get to as many of them at the end as we can. Okay, so first of all, Chloe, can you tell us a little bit of your backstory and what caused you to set up your own accountancy firm in the first place?
Yeah, of course. I qualified as an accountant. During that training process, I actually fell pregnant and had my first daughter at 23, so quite young. But carried on my training, managed to qualify and had a fantastic training contract with a company. However, it was about 45 minutes away from where I lived. So the commute was quite tricky. It was on a motorway, the M42, if anyone knows it, gets traffic all the time. So I'd be kind of going to and from work and getting stuck in traffic, trying to pick up Millie from the nursery. And my husband worked shifts at the time as well. So a lot of the picking up, dropping off fell onto me. And so, yeah, after kind of working for them for a while, qualifying and getting some experience, I had our second child, Archie, and decided that actually school and nursery drop off and trying to get to work down the same M42, just it was too much for me, and I wanted to find somewhere closer to home. So I kind of moved to a smaller practice closer to where I lived. And I'd always wanted to be a director of an accountancy practice at least, and realised that actually it's something that I could do for myself, and that meant that I could set the terms that I wanted to work around. So in 2016, with a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old, I took the leap and set Lodestar up. So almost 10 years ago now.
That's incredible. I can see the reasons why you did it. It's sort of that typical thing that we hear from a lot of parents, that sort of juggle between the commute and all of the drop-offs that you've got to do and still be able to show up for yourself as you're, in your day job as well. So it's often a reason that people set up their own things in the first place. But an accountancy firm is quite a mean feat to set up. Were there any sort of hesitations from yourself or concerns of people around you about setting up on your own at this point?
I'd have to say no. So I'm quite naive. I just go, yeah, I can do that. I've always been told like you can do anything you put your mind to. So personally, I didn't have any concerns. Obviously, there's the nerves and the excitement that come with setting up any business, but yeah, I knew that if I worked really hard, I could make it work, and if not, I could just go and get another job. So for me, it felt like it wasn't too risky. And I had the support of my husband, which was fantastic, and we had that stable income from his employment, so that made the financial side a lot easier. So yeah, just kind of took the leap and decided to set up, and it kind of just went from there, really.
And how soon did you sort of feel the benefits of that? And then sort of how quickly were you able to sort of grow? Were there any points where you were like, oh, actually, I can't do this anymore, it doesn't work? Or did you see those benefits and they just kept going?
Yeah, I mean, to start with, it was flexible from day one. So I was typical at my dining table working, with, like I say, a 1-year-old at home who I kind of juggled nursery and going to the library, singing kind of events and things with him and doing those bits, but also working around that. And also taking my laptop out and about as well. So if I wanted to do a bit of work while I'm sat at a picnic bench watching him on the park, that was possible. Not when he was one, obviously. He needed a bit more support at that age, but as he got older. Um, and I think, yeah, from there it was set up remotely because I was remote, and we used freelancers for a little while, and then we started to recruit. And I realised I didn't need an office. Actually, that was going to stop me being able to be as flexible as I wanted to be. And everything that we were doing was remote anyway, because that's how I'd set it up. So there was no reason to not hire people remotely. And yeah, and that's kind of the decision that I made at that point to just hire remote people, because it also doesn't restrict us geographically then, to a kind of pool of people to hire from. And our clients were all over the UK as well, so we didn't really have the need for an office from a client perspective. So yeah, that was the decision
Yeah, it
making
sounds like,
really.
and this is pre-COVID, right? So remote working, I guess at that point wasn't necessarily the norm, wasn't really well known and used. So the fact that you did that from then, have you seen a difference sort of going through that COVID process and seeing how actually it's become easier to be remote now?
Definitely. So as I started recruiting, I kind of hired people that I knew. So I had like my mother-in-law works for us, and that was the easy bit. That was the less scary way of recruitment. And then I realised we needed to recruit more people as we were growing, and so started kind of advertising for remote people. And I had a recruitment consultant come in touch with me, and he said, "Oh, you'll never be able to recruit for a remote role. Like, you're crazy, aren't you? This is pre-COVID." And give him his dues. He called me during COVID and he was said, "Oh, well, you were ahead of the curve, weren't you?" Like everyone's recruiting for remote roles now. So yeah, I think pre-COVID it was a very different situation. And where I'd worked previously, it was always office based. And yeah, now I mean we've advertised through yourselves and we've advertised for remote roles as well. And yeah, the people that apply are just, well, it's just more common now, isn't it? It's much more common.
I think people are thinking, knowing that it exists now and it's, so people are wanting those and know it is possible. But yeah, you were ahead of the curve doing that back then. So kudos to you. But on the recruitment side of it, then, do you sort of, again, it is more common now, but do you feel that the people you are looking to hire, do they need to work in a certain way? Do you think they can grow into these sort of remote roles? Because it does take, I think, a different sort of person maybe to see, to be able to work from home, 100% of the time. How do you approach your recruiting side of things?
Mm, I think you're right. It doesn't suit everyone, and I think you have to be honest with yourself as a candidate as to whether you think a fully remote role suits you. I think I personally have a lot of things going on outside of work that are very sociable. So I get a lot of interaction with people outside of my role in terms of like face-to-face interaction. I go to the gym, like you said earlier, I play golf. I've kind of got a good social group of friends. So for me, it doesn't matter that I'm not face-to-face with people in an office, whereas other people may not have all of those other things going on outside of work, and actually going to an office may be better suited for those people. But it's up to that individual to decide what is right for them and whether remote working fits them. Um, I mean, our recruitment process, we obviously get CVs from people or get candidates through 5 Hour Club, and then we ask candidates to do like a short video, a 3-minute video, just to explain why they're right for the role, and what they'd bring to Lodestar and to our clients. And I think that's really important because it gives you the ability to see how they get on with tech and see how they get on video calls and videoing themselves, because a lot of what we do with clients is video calls. So if people aren't comfortable in front of camera, it can be quite challenging to have those client meetings that we have to have. So that's something we've built into our recruitment process specifically because we are remote, and how we work with clients.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And it's a really good point that you say it's not for everybody, but actually being comfortable working in this way is a big part of it. So building that into the recruitment process is so key. So let's then get into the nitty gritty of how it works sort of day to day then. So with your team being fully remote, you work different hours, including the 5 hour workday. So there's people working between 9 and 3 only. How do you make sure that all the work gets done?
A lot of trust. So, I mean, some people say I'm too trusting as an individual, just generally in my life. But I think you've got to be able to trust your team. And again, that comes down to the recruitment process, doesn't it? If you've got a really good recruitment process, you're hiring the right individuals and you know you can trust them. And I think being a professional services company as well, people have dedicated a lot of time and effort into getting qualified as accountants. So you can trust that they actually want that career path and they're going to be trustworthy individuals. So I think for us as a business, it's probably baked into our industry, that trust and kind of reliability. Um, so yeah, I think it's about having that trust in your team to be able to go off and do what they need to do.
Do you have core hours where you have meetings and any tools that you use to sort of keep that communication between the team?
So hours are fully flexible. So full time for our team is 35 hours, but we do recruit at part-time hours, 25 hours. We've got varieties in between as well. We don't have core hours contracted, but people tend to fall into a bit of a pattern. Like you said, 9 to 3 is a typical kind of work day for someone who's got childcare and responsibilities. So it means there tends to be a few set hours during the day that everyone's working. So we have like team meetings and we have things that are kind of for all of us, like team training. And we tend to try and put those into the parts of the day that we know most people will be around. And yeah, everyone's just open and honest. So we use like Google Workspace. So people will update their calendars with when their working hours are, or if they're planning to be out of the office for anything like kids' Easter services, or I don't know, gym appointment, like gym sessions that you want to go and do, or I don't know, if you're having your hair done, you might put it out, block yourself out of the calendar. It's having that visibility across the whole team, I think, is really important, and that transparency.
And as you get more clients, how have you made it work so that you've got the spread across the team to make sure that, all the clients are being met at the right point?
Mm. So we have pods within our team, which isn't a new concept. It's been around a very long time, but it kind of came into fashion. Then it went out of fashion in our industry, and it's come back in again now. So within a pod, we will have kind of varying levels of qualified accountants, some trainees, some qualified, and they will be responsible for a portfolio of clients. So we've got multiple pods, and the clients are split up that way. So generally, with having those multiple people in a pod, it means that someone is around most times of the week. And if not, everyone else has got visibility of kind of spaces and things that we're working in Google Workspace. So if someone needs something urgently, we've got like a support email address that they can email, and then one of us will pick it up because multiple people have got access. I think it's just building in those little things, those workarounds almost, to be able to make sure that clients are always looked after.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest pushbacks we get around sort of 5 hour workdays. Like, oh, well, actually, if we're client facing or we have to manage stakeholders, we're not always available for them, all hours of the day. How do you manage that? And it sounds like through your pods, you're managing that. Have you ever had any pushback from clients around the way that you work, or has it been a benefit and actually they come to you because of the way that you work?
Never had pushback. So, I mean, for us, obviously, we've been remote and flexible from day one, and we've been very open about that. So, we probably attract clients that want to work in a similar way to us, that maybe aren't as traditional in the sense of 9 to 5 in an office. And we've never had to transition from that way of working into a more flexible remote way. So in a way, I kind of think it's easier for us as a business because that's how we were set up from day one. And I think clients, yeah, I mean, like I say, our clients are all over the country. Some of them travel like digital nomads, so they travel around the world. So having everything remote is just way easier for them to work with because that's how they live their life and run their businesses. And I mean, some of the industries we work with tends to be kind of challenger brands, e-commerce businesses. And again, they're all very techy, so they're used to using Google Workspace, Google Meet, those sorts of things. And so how we work really matches and aligns with how they work generally.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. So it is hesitations that I think often puts people off from being fully remote, being able to be fully flexible and all of those things. But actually, there's so many benefits to that on both sides, which I think is an important point. And like you say, it's always about that transparency, but also about that trust piece between both you and your clients and you and your team. So I think when you've got that at the core, then it's a really important thing. When it comes to sort of the team as a whole, then I know that there's a lot of pushback around remote working, but how do you create that culture and that sense of connection and belonging within the team that is fully remote? Because we know we've recently learned that actually that sense of belonging is the thing that really retains people in the workplace. They want to have that sense of well-being and feeling valued. How do you make that work as a fully remote team?
Again, it's something that you have to, yeah, excuse me, think outside the box with. I think I kind of class as a bit of a challenger brand as well, even though, yeah, accountancy probably doesn't feel very challenger brandy. And if you've got that mindset, you have to think of ways of doing things differently. Like we have a virtual pub that happens every few weeks on a Friday, just for an hour, where everyone can join if they want to. It's optional. We do bingo. Sometimes we do quizzes. Like, yeah, sometimes it's just catch up and kind of get together and have a bit of a social. But trying to think about, like, if you were in an office, people might go for a drink after work together or go and do something together at lunchtime. It's building those touch points in as a business to kind of form that culture of belonging. Um, we do have a one day a year in person get together as well, where we talk about kind of Lodestar's performance and plans for the future, and do something fun as well. Tends to kind of have a fun element to it, and normally have an outside speaker come in and do a session with us as well. So it is about being intentional with those touch points, because you don't get those kind of just passing each other in the corridor at the office and having a little chat. Um, we have kind of a space as well, so Google Workspace space, where it's about wins. So everyone shares like their personal wins or whatever they want to share. And we've just had a gardening one set up because there's a few keen gardeners or people that want to learn gardening. So tips and tricks, and yeah, photos of flowers that we're growing, or veggies that we're growing. So yeah, you've just got to kind of bake it in rather than hope it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is often what's missed is that remote working works if you are intentional about all of those connection points and that building that culture. Like you say, you don't get those water cooler moments. So you have to actually put those in the diary. And yes, they might not be so spontaneous, but actually once they're there and they're a regular occurrence and you've got something to look forward to, like your in-person day once a year, then it makes it more fun, doesn't it? It sort of brings to life the day, from you sitting on your kitchen table to somebody who might be working, miles away from you. It just brings that sort of sense of connection and belonging to life. So it sounds like you're doing that really well. And I think, do you think it's because you've been doing it from the beginning that you've always thought like this, or has this grown as the business and the team has grown?
Oh, it's definitely evolved over the last 10 years. I think we've always had an element of it in some form or another. So I think when there was probably a handful of us, we had a quarterly social where we'd do like virtual escape room or something like that. It was always like virtual wreath making or whatever. But it has developed and evolved. I mean, we have weekly now, like a slot in the calendar called The Office, and it's optional. People can drop in if they want, and we all just kind of jump in there, remote work, do whatever we're doing, but we can have a little natter as well, or ask questions and share ideas and knowledge as well in that setting, like you would do in a physical office. And I forget that people are miles and miles away, because it just feels like they're there.
Oh, that's such a good idea. And so, yeah, having a virtual office where you're just doing your own thing. Is that body doubling, isn't it? Also, and that can somebody else is doing something else, but they're on their kitchen table over there. So, yeah, it's a great idea. No, it's lovely. So, if we then look at the 5 hour workday specifically, because that's how we've connected, isn't it? One of the limitations that we often get is that there's that lack of progression with the 5 hour workday, or when you're working part time hours, reduced hours, because you haven't got the time to be able to manage people as well as doing your day job. But you have got one of your senior leaders, your head of client services, Francis, who works a 5 hour workday. Can you tell us a little bit about that, how it came about and how it's working?
Yeah, of course. Frances and I have worked together previously, so I knew we worked amazingly well together and really wanted her to be part of Lodestar team. So we kind of kept in touch, and she was pregnant with her third child. And we were catching up for a coffee, and I just said, look, would you be interested? We're fully flexible. Obviously, I know your situation is evolving. Would you fancy joining? And she said, yeah, she'd be really interested. And 25 hours is kind of where she'd want to sit in terms of working hours. And so, yeah, we just kind of had a go at doing it. And like I say, we were fully flexible anyway, and we'd got people working fewer hours before that. So we knew it could work as a company. It was about that kind of seniority, I suppose, seeing how that worked. And so Frances joined us, and she was working kind of 3 days a week, but longer days. And then now her son has gone to kind of the preschool nursery. She's doing 5 days, but school hours. So we've kind of adapted as her journey's evolved as well with her son. And yeah, it goes really well, to be honest. I don't tell the difference between Frances being 25 hours and having a full-time employee, because the things that need to get done. And for me, yeah, it's not even a consideration. Oh, Frances only works 25 hours. It's like she's there when you need her, and that the work gets done. So for me, there's no dispute as to why wouldn't we do that for someone of her level.
And can you see that it's possible for them, for others who may be sort of more junior levels to sort of move up, like you say, as their, own circumstances change, maybe they need to reduce their hours for whatever reason. Do you think that it's possible to have more of the team working 25 hours sort of in those senior roles?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, we adapt with the team anyway. So, like I said earlier, my mother-in-law, she works with us. She started part-time, went to full-time, and she's dropped to 2 days now because that's kind of the flow of her journey. And so we've adapted with her. We've got another team member, Claire, who has recently been promoted. So she's 25 hours a week. So I think, yeah, that shows that you can progress, contrary to some opinions that I've seen online recently around working from home and working reduced hours and progression. I think if you are a business like ours that is intentional with that and trust the team, it shouldn't stunt your progression at all.
Yeah, I know that Frances says, well, she can see that actually 25 hours is a perfect amount. She gets what she needs done in that time. Anything less, maybe it will be a bit harder, but actually, that is a really, and the fact that she is available to you every single day, she hasn't got that day off where she's not able to communicate with the team. She's there 5 days a week for 5 hours. It really works. So I think, like you said, the proof is in the pudding that actually your business is working, it's growing, and you can't see any sort of pushback to that. Do you think that actually you could grow faster, grow bigger if you weren't working this way? Or do you feel actually this works for us and we're growing just as I would expect us to grow?
And that's a really difficult question, because maybe if we were all working 70-hour weeks, we could grow faster, but that's not what we're about. Like, I'm really driven. I think the team are really driven. We want to grow. We want to build a massive business where we're supporting challenger brands and B Corp businesses that are doing really good work, and kind of have that ripple effect across businesses, but not at the detriment of the team and the team's well-being and their health. So for me, it's really kind of reinforcing that value that we have around, you can grow, you can be driven, but you don't have to sacrifice your health, your well-being, your family time, your hobbies, whatever brings you joy, because life's too short to do that, in my opinion. And I know there's,
Well,
yeah,
I hold that same opinion too. And I think you're right. I think it's about being sustainable in the type of work that you do and recognizing that life is not just about work, it's about all of the other things. And actually, we're finding that those companies that are recognizing people outside of work are then retaining those people, because then they're recognizing them as a whole person and not just getting as much out of them in as much time as possible throughout the week. So yeah, it sounds like you're building a culture and a business that isn't just good for the people that you work for, but also your team, and it's going to continue growing because of that. So it's such a good example of how it can be done sustainably and how it can be done with the team and the culture in mind, as opposed to and then everything else follows, right? If you've got a happy team, happy culture, then you're going to keep growing. You're going to have happy clients on the other side as well. So I think it's a really good
Definitely.
example.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Our core values are the acronym growth because we want to grow as a business. We want our clients to grow, but we want our team to grow as well. And growth isn't just restricted to progressing at work. I mean, that's a big part for a lot of people, but it's also growth in other areas. So like we've got team members that play bowls and they're really into their bowls and they want to like progress their county to the county level or whatever. And it's about kind of enabling them to do all of those things as well. Because if you've got a flexible workplace, it means if they want to go off and do a little bit of bowls in the middle of the day when the weather's nice, why not? And then pick up some work later on. It's that whole person viewpoint, I think.
I really love that, Claire. I think that is such a good example of how it can be done, and it can be done successfully. The fact that you are growing shows that. So, to end then, if you do have a piece of advice for another employer who would like to work in the way that you do, would like to introduce 5 hour workdays, or would like to be remote or more flexible, what piece of advice would you give them?
I appreciate that it will be challenging. Change is always challenging, whatever it links to. And I think when you're trying to change the essence of how your business has worked potentially for a very long time, it is going to feel daunting. But I would say try it because for us as a business, it's worked and it's enabled us to hire people that we probably wouldn't have been able to afford otherwise as well, because actually there's a whole workforce there who are experienced, talented, but don't want to do full-time hours. And actually, if we were trying to recruit them at full time, it would have been too much out of our budget. Whereas they're more affordable at 25 hours for us as a business, and it's enabled us to get those specialisms and expertise in at a time where, well, earlier than we probably could have done if we were looking for a full-time recruitment. So I'd say try it, have a go, and try it intentionally as well. There's no point just going, oh yeah, we'll be open to flexible working requests, but actually say no because of business reasons. Like actually want to try it and want it to work, because it can, and it can work really well for employer and employee.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point, isn't it? That actually it's all well and good saying, yeah, okay, we can take you on for 25 hours a week, but then putting a meeting in at 4 p.m. or at 6 p.m. when they, aren't usually working or they're doing the kids' bedtime. So it's thinking about how you can do these things intentionally, how you can make them feel that sense of belonging and valued, and include them in all of the team days and the fun things that you do, even if they do work remotely. So being really intentional about it, I think, is a key difference to how it can properly work as opposed to it just being a tick box exercise. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think recognizing that you're going to open up this huge wealth of people, this talent pool who are experienced and have got these qualifications, but actually they just can't work full time. And there's so many people out there that are able to do that. And like you say, for a growing business like yourself, then it enables you to tap into that talent pool and all that expertise at a much lower cost too, which is a really important point to note for a lot of businesses, I know. Well, thank you so much, Chloe. I had a look and I don't think we've got any questions today, which must mean that you answered everything that people were thinking about, which is good. But if anybody does have any questions, I will share your details in our case studies, which we're also sharing as part of our 5 Hour Club anniversary event. And we're sharing the case studies of Chloe and her team on our website. So take a look at those and you'll be able to get in touch with Chloe if you do have any questions about how it can be done. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing how you continue to grow in the future.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.